Once staples in our meals, some ingredients, whether spreads, sides, or plant-based, are fading from our diets. These are the foods no longer getting the attention they once did. Gelatin-based dishes like Jell-O salads and aspics have a rich and intriguing history. These treats date back to medieval Europe, where they were seen as symbols of wealth and luxury, with elaborate molds becoming staples of elite banquets. Although gelatin lost popularity for a time, it made a significant comeback in the 1940s and 50s in America. This resurgence was driven by two main factors. During World War II, gelatin dishes like Jell-O salads helped families creatively use food scraps while adhering to wartime rationing. These meals also became a symbol of social mobility, allowing cooks to showcase their ability to prepare elegant meals despite shortages. By 1968, Jell-O sales peaked, but by 1987, they had dropped to half of what they were at their height. As historian Ken Albala explained, gelatin has always experienced unpredictable surges and declines in popularity, going in and out of fashion with the times. Gelatin is one of the very few foods that goes so radically in and out of fashion from epoch to epoch. We're in one of those periods where it's totally out of fashion. In the early 2000s, Jell-O marketed itself as a low-fat treat, but as diet trends faded, its appeal waned. The shift away from diet culture made it difficult for Jell-O to regain its popularity. Turnips have a rich history, once thriving across Europe and beloved by the Romans. Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder even praised them as a key vegetable of the time. However, despite their nutritional value and versatility, turnips have largely fallen out of favor in modern times. In fact, a survey by VeggieTracker found that turnips are the most disliked vegetable in the US, with 27% of people expressing a dislike for them. This negative perception may be due in part to their rarity in contemporary diets, leading to misunderstandings about their flavor and potential.
Now, if there's a Tibetan turnip that will allow me to breathe underwater for an hour, then great.
Turnips, once a staple of ancient diets, have shifted from a cherished food to one often associated with poverty and hardship. Over the centuries, they became common fare for the poor and livestock, especially during times of scarcity. During World War I, German civilians were forced to rely on turnips as a substitute for bread and potatoes due to food shortages. Similarly, in World War II, British citizens had more turnips than they probably cared for. This connection to difficult times has contributed to their decline in popularity. In more recent years, root vegetables like potatoes and carrots, which are easier to use and more versatile, have taken their place in kitchens. Given these historical associations, it's no surprise turnips often remain forgotten today. Acorn flour was once a vital ingredient in both Native American and European diets, though its use has since diminished. For Native American tribes, acorns were more than just a food source. They were essential to survival. Some tribes cultivated vast oak forests specifically for harvesting acorns. The Hashuman Nation, for example, roasted and ground acorns into a meal, which they often turned into a mush, similar to cream of wheat. In medieval Europe, acorns were primarily used as feed for livestock. However, during times of hardship, such as famine, war, or poor harvests, acorns were dried, ground into flour, and made into bread as an emergency food source. While the decline of acorn use in Europe can be attributed to the difficulty of working with acorns and their limited role in the diet, the disappearance of acorn flour in America is tied to the impact of European colonization. As colonizers cleared American oak forests for farmland, they also diminished the land that Native Americans had carefully managed for generations. This disruption, coupled with the suppression of many aspects of Native culture, led to the loss of acorn flour as a staple in the American diet. Iceberg lettuce, once a staple in American diets, has fallen out of favor in recent years. Data from the USDA Economic Research Service shows that iceberg lettuce consumption steadily declined while romaine lettuce gained popularity, with the two finally switching places in 2020. This shift can be traced back to the late 80s when Fresh Express revolutionized the lettuce market by creating pre-cut, pre-washed, bagged salads. Before that, iceberg lettuce was the go-to choice because of its ability to be transported and stored easily. With the advent of more flavorful and nutritious greens packaged for convenience, iceberg lettuce couldn't keep up. Despite its long-standing presence, many never found iceberg particularly appealing. Restaurateur Alice Waters even criticized it in the San Francisco Chronicle, highlighting its lack of flavor and texture compared to other lettuces. As consumers began seeking more flavorful, nutrient-dense options, iceberg lettuce's days as a top choice were numbered. It is omnipresent. It doesn't have a season. It doesn't have a sense of place. A Vice opinion writer also expressed criticism, commenting that it lacked flavor and substance. Iceberg, on the other hand, tastes like solidified water, which, yes, is ice. Its fault lies in its name. It's filler lettuce with virtually no nutritional value. Given the strong criticisms from many, it's clear that iceberg lettuce, once a kitchen staple, may be fading out of popularity for good. In 1933, Procter & Gamble released Crisco recipes for the Jewish housewife, aiming to introduce Crisco as a kosher substitute for schmaltz, the traditional chicken fat. Promoted as healthy, clean, and cheap, the campaign was highly effective, and Crisco quickly became a household staple, particularly in Jewish homes, and eventually gained widespread popularity.
The most important invention since they put mayonnaise in the jar.
One of the major issues with Crisco stems from its past use of trans fats, specifically partially hydrogenated oils. In the 90s, research began to link trans fat consumption with increased bad cholesterol levels, leading many to avoid the product. Although Crisco has since eliminated trans fats, its association with the ingredient has left a lasting negative reputation. During this time, large companies conducted their own research to defend trans fats, but their findings only confirmed the earlier studies, cementing trans fats as a health risk. Even today, despite Crisco's transition to a trans fat-free formula, recent studies continue to question its health effects. A 2019 study published in Nutrients found that Crisco, along with other shortenings, contributed to increased inflammation and the risk of fatty liver disease in rats, raising further concerns about its impact on human health. This research casts a shadow on Crisco's reputation, despite its reformulation. Gooseberries, unlike many other forgotten foods, haven't faded from our diets due to unhealthy ingredients or manufacturing practices. Instead, they've simply fallen out of favor for a variety of reasons, some beyond their control. A major reason for the decline in gooseberry consumption is their tartness, which makes them less appealing to modern palates. Additionally, gooseberries aren't widely farmed, making them harder to find. One farmer mentioned to The Telegraph that they're seldom in demand and could eventually disappear entirely. Part of the issue is the confusion surrounding the different varieties of gooseberries. Some are sweet, others sour, but consumers often can't distinguish between them, making it harder to market. Adding to the challenge is the fruit's short shelf life, which makes it difficult for stores to keep them in stock. Gooseberries also faced a significant setback early in the 20th century when a disease called American gooseberry mildew nearly wiped them out in both the US and the UK. Despite efforts to revive their cultivation, gooseberries remain a rare sight. One British farm even estimated there's only a 50% chance they'll still be growing them by 2030. The quince is a fruit that stands out in both appearance and taste. Often described as a cross between an apple and a pear, its flavor is a mild, citrus-like sweetness, far less intense than that of lemons or limes. However, quinces are not typically eaten raw, as their tough, tart flesh makes them unappealing in that state. When cooked, though, quinces shine in jams, pies, and other desserts. Their decline in popularity can be attributed to the effort required to prepare them, as they must be cooked to unlock their full potential. This inconvenience, combined with their sourness when raw, has led people to gravitate toward easier fruits to enjoy. Historically, quinces were far more common, particularly along the Silk Road, which helped spread them across Europe. By the Middle Ages, they were prized for their supposed medicinal properties, even believed to ward off the evil eye. Quinces were more popular than apples, often featured on the tables of royalty and aristocrats as a symbol of wealth and refinement. However, by the 20th century, the fruit lost its appeal, as preparing quinces became more of a hassle without servants to do the work. Miracle Whip is often regarded as one of the least favorite mayonnaise alternatives, with many blogs and online forums calling it the worst. However, before its decline in popularity, it had an interesting journey. Introduced at the 1933 World's Fair in Chicago, Miracle Whip was marketed as a lighter, scoopable alternative to salad dressing. It quickly became a competitor to traditional mayonnaise. While it shares similar characteristics with mayonnaise, such as its color and tangy flavor, Miracle Whip contains less oil and is lower in calories and fat. However, it's made with a more complex blend of ingredients, including sugar, eggs, spices, and vinegar.
Bad news for turkeys, good news for you. With more flavor and half the fat of mayonnaise, Miracle Whip makes a better turkey sandwich.
Dietitian Chelsea Edwards told Southern Living that determining whether Miracle Whip or traditional mayonnaise is healthier is uncertain, as both have their pros and cons. Mayonnaise is less refined and less processed, which might be more desirable to some people, whereas the lower fat of Miracle Whip may be more important to someone else's nutritional needs. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Miracle Whip gained popularity due to the rise of diet culture. However, as people shifted toward more natural, minimally processed foods, Miracle Whip lost favor. Today, many prefer traditional mayonnaise over its sweeter, more processed counterpart.